Hi, my name is Tammy,
And I'm Jen.
and they call us Woo.
Welcome back, everybody. I am excited, like always, because Tammy brought up a topic that I really don't know a whole lot about, and I realize I maybe should know more about it because I know that I've celebrated in some capacity, and people have um, shared well wishes with me for celebrating the winter solstice. And I am just a little bit curious to have Tammy tell us a little bit more about it because I know from the few things she said to me, I'm like, oh, well, I do that. Oh, well, yeah, I have done that. And I have friends who celebrate, but I know absolutely nothing about how other people celebrate around the world the winter solstice and how people here celebrate because I just celebrate whenever, whatever I want to celebrate, whenever I want to celebrate it. So,
Well,
Tammy, tell us.
to be fair, I don't really know exactly what. I mean, oftentimes these old traditions are associated with quote unquote pagan, which, if we're talking about the true sense of the word, it was generally like Celtic area. The like a celebration of nature, or people would consider like witches and stuff like that. Like it sounds all witchy and stuff, but it really was just a celebration of nature. So I don't know if that's originally where this started. I'm assuming that this is just something that a lot of different cultures around the world probably celebrated because, historically it seems like every culture had a tradition of celebrating seasons and where the sun was in the sky and what the weather was doing and what was happening outside. It was such a big impact on how they lived their daily lives. So
Yeah.
I'm sure there's people who probably know more than me, but I just thought it would be kind of fun to talk about because there is people who really really enjoy celebrating the winter and the summer solstice. And the winter solstice, our podcast will be coming out the day of. So it's December 21st for those of us in the Northern Hemisphere. Um,
In the year of 2023, because people might be listening to this later.
that's true. It usually falls right around the same time, the 21st or the 22nd. And then in the Southern Hemisphere, it's June something, which flips my brain around. So we're not going to get into that. But anyway, so I think it's kind of interesting because when I like looked into all this and all this stuff, I kind of know about the history of it. People oftentimes associate Yule logs and stuff like that with Christmas, but Yule is actually specifically this celebration of winter solstice. That's how it started. And it just this is not to offend anybody's belief system, but I think most people know in Christianity that there was different elements of different traditions that were kind of absorbed into the traditions around certain holidays. Christmas is definitely one of them. I mean, I believe it's common knowledge that nobody actually knows when Jesus was born, and that was just kind of wrapped into the tradition of celebrating that time of year. But really that time of year has always been a celebration of winter solstice. And all winter solstice is it is the shortest day, darkest day of the year, but that's the day that starts to change to bring light back. So leading up to the summer solstice, that's the lightest day of the year.
Mhm.
Between winter solstice and summer solstice, the sun is, we're getting a little bit more of it every day. So Yule, winter solstice, was always a celebration of rebirth. So it was like um, the year wrapping up, the season changing, and then this kind of celebration of the rebirth of the sun and something beautiful. So a lot of times the things around Yule had to do with light. So it would be candles or fires, or some people would do like a Yule altar. So I don't know if that's a more recent thing or if that's something that's been done a long time, but sometimes people like to make altars to kind of have in their home to put a certain energy in, and so they can really observe it and feel, the power from what they've created there. So a lot of times people will do things like they'll fill it with symbols of winter. So maybe pine cones or evergreens or things like that. And then generally there's a candle. Um, some people will practice their clearing techniques and they will clear the space. Sometimes they will do offerings to the candle. It's kind of however you feel like that makes the most sense to you. Some people will do wreaths, like evergreen wreaths. So that's also a tradition that's been kind of wrapped into Christmas. That was traditionally around winter solstice. Um, and then the Yule log, I'm pretty sure that's a Nordic thing. But the Yule logs, I guess they used to burn them for like a week or so, or maybe like 2 weeks, something like that. Like they'd keep the logs burning. So I don't
Mhm.
know. I doubt it was just one log that you keep burning that long. But they'd keep the fire going as part of this ceremonial thing. So you'd want to keep it going in your home for.
My
I
brain
wonder if
thought
I can
of
find it.
the story of loaves and fishes, where there was just always more. And the Yule log is like
The
the
fire that
fish.
never died. Well,
Yeah,
now
it's
we
like
have
logs
the
and fires.
Yule log on TV, which technically
Mhm.
never goes out. So I think we're good.
Well, somebody pokes it and they put more fire, they put more logs on it. If you watch it for long periods of time, they put a new log on. They do.
Oh, I've never watched it that
I've
long.
watched them do it.
Well, that's
Oh,
good to know. I mean, I'm sure it
this
would
might
have
be
to.
something that's just in my brain. I know I've seen them poke the log.
Well, they have to do it in some versions of that. Remember when that
Yeah.
used to be just on TV? Like when that started happening where it was just on a TV channel. I think it was like a cable
Mhm.
channel or something.
My
Maybe it was
family
on
put it on. Yeah.
regular TV too. I don't know.
For a little
Um,
while when we didn't have the channels that had that, or maybe my mom was just creative one year. We had a piece of like tag board that we made a fireplace on and it had a fire drawn on it and we had that over our TV
that's
for a
really
while.
cute. I love that.
It
Well,
was just us being silly.
one of the things that I think is really lovely. So the other thing that is going to sound very familiar is Christmas trees were actually initially like Yule celebrations too. But people would actually go out and find a tree and they would decorate the tree outside a lot of times with candles, which, a little bit scary, but a lot of times with candles and stuff like that. But they would do that in symbolism of like the stars, the moon, the sun, and then often they would put in
Is that
candles that were
why most people put
symbolizing.
a star on the top of the tree?
No, I think, well, I could be wrong. That could be from something else. I know the current thing is it's supposed to symbolize the star of the north that was in the sky when Jesus was born.
Oh, yeah, I suppose that makes sense.
But it could have been something else, honestly. It could have started as something
Huh.
else. That's a really good question. We should figure that out. um, but part of
Yeah.
what I thought was really beautiful about that, it's not only a celebration of nature, but oftentimes people would light these candles and stuff, and they would use them in symbolizing like a loved one or somebody that they had lost. So it was also a way to kind of bring your family into the celebration and
Yeah.
put them as it, you know, a part of this whole family tradition. And me personally, I don't remember if I've told this story. I probably have, but my grandma, who's since passed several years ago, she loved family celebrations and she loved Christmas. And I had this plant from her, the last place that she had lived that I had for a
Hmm.
while, that I always felt was really connected to her. Like I would talk to it and it would respond, so I felt like my grandma was really attached to it. And while the plant was still around, every Christmas it would really perk up. And it was just like the coolest thing. And it'd be like, oh, grandma's here too. um, but I really love the nature element of it. Um, I have this group that I like of ladies I like to get together with sometimes, and we do like fun woo stuff. And we're getting together this upcoming weekend and we were going to each kind of bring some type of tradition to do together. And I was like, well, I don't really have a lot of tradition around Christmas because I never celebrated it growing up. I didn't start celebrating till I was an adult. But I was like, what would be super cool is to make our own ornaments and fill them with, like, make them energetic. So fill them with things like things we find outside in nature, like evergreens or, dried berries or fruit or, you could put crystals and stuff like that in there too. But things that really feel like they're not only honoring the season, but they have life. It's something
Yeah.
that you put into that ornament that's going to feel like it's giving your tree or your home or wherever you put it a little bit of life.
Yeah.
And I'm really excited to do it because that's a different way to celebrate than I've ever done before. I'm not doing it on winter solstice, but I'm kind of keeping that in mind as I do this kind of nature-based ornament. But
That's neat. I kind of like that idea.
I thought it would be
Our
fun.
So I was thinking of the traditions that my family does for Christmas, and my family has a really weird tradition that we've had since, and mm, I don't know exactly when this started. You'll be able to figure it out by the TV show, but my mom got a random picture of Ross from Friends in the mail around Christmas one year. And so this picture of David Schwimmer has been on our Christmas tree every year since then. And every year we take a picture of it and it gets posted to social media with a hashtag of Schwimmer where it glimmers. And so every year we try to get him to respond. He has not responded yet. Um, but I am keeping the tradition alive. And last year I put it on the Christmas tree, and my fiance's kids were like, "What in the heck is that? Why is that on our Christmas tree?" And my fiance goes, "It's Jen's tradition." And they're like, "This is stupid." And I was like, "It's not, it's great."
If you're
So
enjoying it, there's no such thing as a stupid tradition.
exactly. And they'll get used to it. And when they get
Yes.
older, they can tell everybody that they had Ross from Friends on the Christmas
When
tree.
they're not that age where everything is dumb, they'll be like, this was actually really hilarious, and they'll be able to admit it.
Yeah, so that's my tradition this time of the year. But I, we have always watched the Yule log on the TV. That's always been in the background. Um, we of course have wreaths. We have our Christmas tree. Like, there's so many things that I'm like, oh, yeah, that is winter solstice.
Right,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
So we are celebrating it, I think, oftentimes a lot more than we think. But I know there's people who really do specific like meditations and stuff around that too. And I would like to do that this year. It feels like a good year. I don't know. I always feel like this time of year, especially living where it's cold and snowy, usually, not this year, but usually, um, it feels like a time to kind of like rest and recharge. So, meditation by candlelight sounds amazing to me.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of plans and a lot of big things I want to do next year. So, I think it would be a perfect year to just take the time to do a meditation and really kind of think about, have gratitude for the things that have already processed through me this
Mhm.
year and the things that have happened, and even just gratitude for nature, gratitude for how beautiful every season is in its own right.
Yeah.
And winter is a time of reflection, so I think it's a perfect time to reflect on everything and then welcome in that energy and put out there all the things that I want for the new year and put out there the
Yeah.
ways that I would love this, new blooming energy of the sun to support me in that. So I feel like it would be a really good time to do that. And I have an amazing candle that smells like Fraser fir, and it's
Mm.
already making me happy thinking about it.
Nice. Nice. That that's a good thought. Like, so when you were talking about the candles on trees outside, I started thinking about, and with the Yule log, I started thinking about if it's about rebirth, it's kind of like a phoenix,
Mm,
where a phoenix are like dragons, where things are lit on fire so that they can be rebirthed, so that they can be brought down to their smallest pieces and reborn in a new way.
Oh, I love
And
that.
it's kind of the same with like forests. When the forest catches on fire, it burns out all of the brush, it burns out all the things that are no longer needed, so that all of the little saplings can come up through the ground, so that all of the new
Mm-hmm.
freshness can come through and grow. Um, so that's what I'm thinking about. I'm like, oh, that's like the beginning of that new growth.
Mm-hmm.
It's the processing, the transition. I like that.
I honestly think it's kind of the perfect time. I mean, I have enough warm weather gear where I can go outside regardless, but it would be nice if we had, the type of day where I could really take like a nice moment outside too.
Mhm.
Cuz I don't love being cold, but I really love being outside in the winter at the same
Mhm.
time because it's so quiet and it's so peaceful. And I feel like it is just a very meditative time of
Yeah.
year where you're just naturally kind of slowing down and you're able to observe all of these things. I'm not a big like I'm into astrology, but I'm not a big person in like knowing all the things that are happening. But from what I understand right now too, that is kind of the world's shift right now. I know Mercury just went into retrograde and something to do with Sagittarius and Capricorn, I think, like leaving one and going into the other. I can't remember. But regardless, the feeling behind it is a time to like slow down and take a breath, kind of let things absorb, observe, be present, and kind of set your intention for how you want things to continue after this. So it's kind of perfect that it's all just like wrapping into the same thing. And I don't know if this happens every year. I just know that that's what's happening right now.
Oh, I was like, well, of course the winter solstice happens every year. You just mean the
Oh, the
astrological part of
astrological
it.
thing.
I was like,
Yeah,
yes, it does.
that definitely happens every year. But to me,
Yeah.
too, it's like, when we are in such a fast paced life and oftentimes, we don't get a chance to slow down as much as we would like, even, seasonally. Sometimes we get really annoyed at things like winter and we don't take the time to stop and reflect on the beauty of it and
Yeah.
be in gratitude for all of the beautiful things in nature. Because, I mean, around here anyway, if it wasn't for winter, we wouldn't have such a beautifully abundant spring, summer, and fall. Like,
Yep.
we need everything to take a rest. We need all of the moisture that comes from it. We need all of those things that happen. And then, um, you know, it even just like seeing the geese flying away when we were out walking a couple weeks ago, I just sat there for a minute and I was like, bye, geese. Thanks for coming. Even though geese can be jerks sometimes in person, that's all right.
Yeah.
They serve a purpose. And when they're flying in the sky, they're cool. You
Hmm.
just don't want to walk across a path if they have babies. But
Yeah.
anyway,
Yeah.
it was just kind of a nice moment to like appreciate all of these changes of seasons. Like I really love being where seasons change. I might change my mind about that when I'm like 80 and I don't want to be in the winter anymore, but for right now I very much appreciate the ability to be somewhere where seasons change and I can sit in gratitude with what each season represents
Yeah.
and try to go with the flow instead of being annoyed that it's not working for my life at the moment.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
if you talk to me again in a couple months and I'm tired of driving in the snow, I might be working a little harder on the gratitude piece, but that's okay.
Well, you'll just have to drive down to where I am because we get almost no snow.
But you get
Um,
ice.
yes, we get ice, but it goes away.
That's
It goes
true.
away.
That's true.
Yeah. I'm actually looking forward to coming up north because I'm hoping to see a little bit of snow. I know that there's snow a little bit further north
Hmm.
than where you are. So I'll be up there for the holidays and I'll get to celebrate in the winter season. Whereas where I am in Oklahoma, it's like it's still 60, 65 degrees outside and I'm still wearing my flip-flops and just it just is what it is. I'm looking at my Christmas tree and then walk outside and I'm like, oh, I still can wear shorts if I want to, but
You
just a
know,
little different.
it's different, but I'm sure you get used to it, right? It's just a different way to have a Christmas tree. You just don't see as much white.
I know I'm looking forward to seeing the snow though,
Yeah.
because I do think that when it does snow, well, when it snows on Christmas, I think it's beautiful. Any other
Mhm.
time, I'm like, maybe.
Think about
It's
like
beautiful at first.
mid-January, I'd be okay with it like tapering off.
Yeah.
But yes, around the holidays, there's something kind of magical about it. And I
Yeah.
know around where we are, they do like a big winter celebration in January, and they'll have like ice rinks in the middle of the city and like all of these kind of fun things that, and parks that are just lit up with all of these white lights and
Hmm.
ice sculptures and all this like really cool stuff that they do. And there's something kind of magical about it. There's something that I would miss even if I was warmer.
Yeah. 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 I was trying to figure out if I have all of my winter stuff to go up north. I'm like, what do I need? How cold is it actually? Am I gonna get really cold? So I'm probably gonna have way too much winter gear in the car because I want to make sure that I'm not freezing.
You might need to do layers because the whole El Nino thing this year, it really is making a difference on how much warmer it is than normal.
Hmm.
So, being that you still have that sturdy northern blood in you, you probably won't need as many jackets as you think.
I'll bring a couple extra Yule logs and I have my big fluffy dog coming with me. She'll keep me warm.
Perfect. So,
Yeah.
is there anything that you want to do this year around winter solstice? Anything that you want to let go of and bring in, or
Oh my gosh. So thinking about this, I think I'm probably going to do a fire ceremony.
yeah?
Because I love fire ceremonies. That's just one of the things that I'm called to do. Um, but I think that what I'll do is I'll sit down. I have a list of goals for everything that I want to do this year. I have so many business goals. I have so many personal goals. Um, but I think I'm gonna do individual release ceremonies where
Mm,
I actually usually I write down everything that I want to release and then everything that I want to bring and I do it in one swoop.
mm-hmm.
I think I'm gonna do it individually this year. I think I'm
Okay.
gonna take a little bit more time, um, and just really think about it and really hone in on reconnecting and um I'm not sure how exactly I'm going to do that this year. I was like, I could write everything I want to release on a leaf and put it in the fire. And then I was like, oh, I don't want to burn a leaf right now. Like that just doesn't feel right. So I'm not going to do that. Um, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure. What about you?
Mm, I have lots of ideas around it, but to me, usually the winter solstice, it makes me want to do something cozy.
Mm,
So the idea of being in a nice warm place, we don't have a fireplace here, but that's okay. I can find other ways to mimic it, like with the candles and stuff like that. But being able to have a day that I am not requiring myself to do that much, forward momentum.
mhm.
Because especially being like a business owner amongst the other millions of things that I do on a daily basis, you have a tendency, every day is like, okay, I got to do this, I got to do that, I got to get this done
Yeah.
today. I think for me, just allowing myself a day or an evening of I don't have to do anything right now and being cozy, I probably want to do some journaling. So it's probably going to involve some nice soft blankets,
Mm,
maybe listening to something in particular that I want to journal about. I know I'm doing some work around release of financial patterns, which, if anyone has not listened to it yet, our episode from last week is amazing
Hmm.
about the energetic resonance of finances and money and how we can really release a lot of feelings around it that don't really serve us and we can bring more abundance in. So that I have a lot of big things that are being presented to me for the next year, and that feels like a good opportunity to just not do anything other than just sit there and feel the feelings, sit with my thoughts, have gratitude for how far I've come. Definitely there'll be my candle involved. Um, but as far as outside of that, I'm hoping that I can just do a piece of nature in that too, whether it be going out in nature and being with the trees and with everything around me, or bringing a little of nature into my home. I'm not really sure yet.
Yeah. Oh, this just made me think of like a whole big thing I can do because I like big things. Um, so we have this really cool little jacuzzi tub in our bathroom, and I did a candlelit bath the other day and it was beautiful. And I put fresh herbs from our garden. Like I
Mm.
have a lavender plant outside. So I took like fresh lavender from outside and just made this beautiful bath for myself. And baths have always been about flow for me, like allowing me to stand in emotional flow and flow of allowing things to either move through or to move in and process through. And so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to get some like cedar and some, I'll probably use lavender still because I love lavender in my baths, but
Mm.
do cedar and do lavender in my bath. And then I'm going to get a bowl that um, I can have a little like burning fire and
Oh,
still do my
cool.
burning ceremony, but I can put that on the ledge and then I can have all my candles. So I'll be surrounded by my fire and I can release and do the things that I want to release and do my rebirth and renewal through the release ceremony. Well, I'm taking my bath and drinking my cacao
That sounds
and
awesome.
yeah, that'll be lovely. And then maybe we
Mm-hmm.
can go for a walk outside after that. Yeah,
Yeah, that sounds wonderful.
that's what I'm gonna do.
Good. I'm glad this
Yeah.
whole processing got the plan set in your head. I don't know if my husband is gonna be part of the walk with me or not. I mean, I would like him to be part of it, but the meditative piece of it, I certainly am going to do on my own because it's easier for me to do it that way.
Yeah.
Take the time by myself without the distraction and stuff like that to really be with myself for a minute. But also the really cool piece of that, I know I talked a lot about, kind of the resting and being, but it's like it makes you feel when you do take a moment to do that, it makes you feel more open and welcoming to the next energy that comes in. And sometimes I find that it even gives me different perspective because since I'm so open to it, sometimes something presents itself where I'm like, I had no idea that this was even a thing, or new ideas come, or new
Yeah.
ways to do things, or ways to work around things that might have been challenging in the past. It's kind of cool when you really open yourself up to the energy of this rebirth, that you
Yeah.
can just really like get rid of some of the things that you want to leave behind and take all the things you want with you, and then all of a sudden this like new information comes to you and you're like, what? I
Yeah.
never thought of that. it's
Yeah.
it's cool.
Yeah. I like that. I like that a lot. And I like to burn things away. I
Yes, you do.
do.
There's nothing wrong with that. There's something really uh cleansing. Most clearing ceremonies involve burning something, right?
Hmm.
Burning or washing it.
Yeah.
Burning is a great way to do it.
Yeah.
But it is kind of funny that you were like, I don't really do winter solstice stuff. And I'm like, really though?
Well, I guess we just never called it that. Like it was always Christmas. We were just always doing Christmas stuff for like
Mm-hmm.
all of December because Christmas is a season. It's not a day in most
Right.
people's lives in the United States, you know? And so I just never thought about it. And I used to have actually I just had somebody say to me, Happy Winter Solstice the other day. And I was like, Yeah, you too. I actually said to her, I hope you have a fire. I don't know why I said that.
Oh,
I
that's
said that.
funny.
But like in my head, it had to do with like going outside and having this beautiful bonfire and like celebrating it around this fire. Um,
You know, you brought up something that I think was a good point, though, because I do think that the Christmas season can be really sometimes very intense and overwhelming for some people.
mhm.
And I have a different experience because I still get the privilege of having an adult perspective, but the childlike fascination with the
Mhm.
holiday. And I
Yeah.
don't have any, like negative associations or anything attached to it. I know not everybody has the same Christmas experience,
Mhm.
but when you take the time to do things like this, I feel like that could really bring you back into yourself and back into appreciating and being grateful for the things that are lovely about the season. It doesn't
Yeah.
have to do with, sometimes people's families are a lot. Sometimes people don't have great relationships with them, or maybe some trauma around the holidays or whatever the case may be. But when you think about it in the sense of you don't have to completely remove yourself from all of those things or feel terrible through that time of year, where you can still celebrate something that feels beautiful and meaningful, like the winter solstice.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to have anything to do with Christmas, but it could maybe give you a different perspective on enjoying some of the more fun or beautiful things around the season without as much of the stress, hopefully.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's
I am going to honor the sun. I am going to I'm going to follow my cat's lead and I'm going to find the sun that comes in through the window and I'm just going to plunk myself down in the middle of the floor in the sunny spot that's coming through the window or through the door and I'm just going to enjoy the sunlight. My
that
cat's probably
sounds
going to be mad that
wonderful.
I'm taking their spot, but I'm going to do it, which is going to be obnoxious for everybody in the house because it's like right in the middle of everything.
You'll be
Or I'll have
fine.
to like lay on the stairs because that's the other spot.
Okay, that might be a little more uncomfortable.
Yeah, so I'm gonna do that too. Just somehow find a way to honor the sun. Maybe go lay outside in one of the chairs and just get the sun.
That's
Every
a
once
fun
in a
one.
while, we'll go outside and lay in the lounge chairs outside with our blankets, just our little heads poking out and get the sun when it's just a little bit too chilly to sit outside. Just sit out there. We'll just wrap up in blankets and just get the sun on our face.
I love
And
that.
it's lovely. This would be a good time of the year to do that, I think.
The face you're making right now is totally the face my cat was making the other day too, when he was sitting with the sun on his face. He was so
See?
happy.
See? You're
You
just
know
like,
what might be kind of fun for people too, to continue on that feeling, is anything that's, like gold or yellow, so stones that could be really
Mhm.
a beautiful time for people to be holding on to their bumblebee jasper and golden healer and all those
Or
beautiful,
sunstone.
yeah, all the
Yeah.
beautiful stones that kind of go along with that, solar plexus chakra, and with that feeling of just being really, rooted in yourself and optimistic and all those lovely things that come with it. That might be
Yeah.
something else I do too. I was in picking out stones the other day for my ornament, and I did end up getting a couple different variations of sunstone and some others that were kind of like intentionally but unintentionally like winter solstice sun celebration related, which is kind of interesting too. Because I was
Yeah.
just, when I pick stones, I just kind of go what feels good. I just kind of go with what I'm led to.
Hmm.
And yeah, there was a whole variation of those sunstones and stuff.
So did you just go get like those bulb ornament things that you can
Yeah, you can
fill?
just
Is
get
that
like
what?
plastic ones that they just open up in half, and then
Oh.
you can put whatever you want in it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm writing this down.
I'm
ornament
not sure if I'm
because
gonna
I like it.
glue stuff in there or just stuff it in there. We'll see. I don't know. It'll come to me. But you can
Yeah.
make it however the heck you want. But I am
Yeah.
really looking forward to putting it together and putting it on my tree before Christmas so I can feel all that lovely energy from it.
Yeah. Nice. Cool. Well, thank you for sharing winter solstice stuff with me and letting me see that I actually did know more or celebrate more of
Yes.
it than I realized. And
Yeah.
now I'll know when people wish me a happy solstice that entails.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Yeah.
you accidentally were celebrating it this whole time, but I hope this inspires people to just take a moment for themselves today and do something lovely to celebrate the change of season and year and life.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, happy winter solstice,
Mm-hmm.
everybody. Thank you for being here with us. We're excited to see you next week, and we will talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody, for listening. If you liked what you heard today, please subscribe and check the show description for the links to the show. We would love to hear your thoughts below on this episode, as well as anything that you'd like us to talk about on future episodes. Remember, everybody, you are unique just the way you are, and that is why they call us Woo.
Mm-hmm.